Hey F1 fans, big news coming from McLaren. An official statement just confirmed the addition of a new promising talent to the British team. Are we on the brink of seeing a new phenomenon rise in F1? And that's not all. Verstappen has broken his silence. The championship leader is calling for drastic changes in race scheduling, and this could shake up the entire season. Formula One news is on fire right now, so don't waste any time. Make sure to subscribe to the channel to stay updated on everything happening in the world of F1. Just hit that subscribe button below the video. It's quick, free, and doesn't require any registration. This is F1 Fastline News, your go-to channel for daily F1 updates. Let's get straight to it. Let's start with a big story that's been making waves behind the scenes of Formula One. McLaren has just announced a new driver in their development program. That's right, the British team, which has been a real surprise this season, is doubling down on their investment in the future. And let me tell you, they're not messing around. With an impressive performance throughout the year, McLaren has not only challenged Red Bull's dominant streak, but has also established itself as a rising force on the grid. Now, the team has signed young Welsh driver Ella Lloyd, just 19 years old, for their talent development program. It's clear that McLaren is serious about building a strong foundation for the coming years, and this move deserves our full attention. You might be wondering, why is this such a big deal? Well, here's the thing. Bringing in Ella Lloyd isn't just a strategic move. It's also a clear indication that McLaren is committed to diversifying the sport and providing opportunities for emerging talents, especially in the women's scene. Lloyd, who has already made a name for herself in the Formula Winter Series and British F4, now has a chance to showcase her potential in the F1 Academy, a women's championship designed to prepare future stars of the sport. And you know what? She's not just another name on the grid. The young Welsh driver has already shown exceptional speed and surprising maturity on the track, which definitely caught the eye of McLaren's boss, Zak Brown. The fact that she was chosen to represent the team in a high-level championship shows just how much trust they have in her development. It's fascinating to see how McLaren is making moves on multiple fronts. While Lando Norris continues to impress and close the gap with Max Verstappen in the Drivers' Championship, only 52 points separate the two, the team is also planning ahead and betting on talents like Lloyd to keep this upward trajectory going. But will this strategic choice really strengthen McLaren in the long run? It's a big gamble, but considering the team's history of developing drivers like Lewis Hamilton and more recently Lando Norris, it's hard to doubt Zak Brown and his team's intentions. Signing Lloyd reinforces McLaren's long-term vision, showing that they're not just focused on immediate results, but on building a new generation of top-tier talent. Now, here's something to think about. Will other teams follow suit and start investing more in the women's divisions of the sport? The F1 Academy was created precisely for this, and McLaren seems to be ahead of the game in this regard. It wouldn't be surprising to see more teams announcing new female talents in the near future. Ella Lloyd herself expressed excitement about the opportunity, highlighting her pride in representing a team with such a rich racing history that has always given space for new talents. With McLaren, I have everything I need to keep developing my skills and push the boundaries as a woman in motorsport, Lloyd stated in her official announcement. And that's exactly what the sport needs. More opportunities and more space for new talents to emerge and compete at the highest level, regardless of gender. Shifting gears, let's hit the throttle on a hot topic that's been sparking a lot of debate behind the scenes of Formula One. Max Verstappen, current championship leader and always vocal when it comes to how the sport is run, has made an important request to F1. Rethink the race calendar. And it's not without reason. The exhausting sequence of races and time zone changes that the season imposes is pushing not just the drivers, but the entire team to their absolute limit. Let's break it down. Right now, the championship is in the middle of a record-breaking season with 24 Grands Prix, and when you factor in the sprint events, that number jumps to 30 races a year. The issue isn't just about the number of races, but also how they're spaced out geographically. F1 has been criticized for years over its disconnected calendar, and despite a few improvements like rearranging some events, things are still pretty rough. Verstappen pointed out in a recent interview that his biggest challenge isn't the number of races, but rather the time zone differences between events. Take, for example, the next triple header we're facing in this final stretch of the season. F1 is going from Austin, Texas to Mexico City, and then straight to Sao Paulo, Brazil. That's a relatively linear route, but right after that, the F1 circus moves on to Las Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. which can mean up to a 10-hour time difference in some cases. Now think about it. While the physical toll on the drivers is already huge, imagine what it's like for the hundreds of crew members working behind the scenes. They have to dismantle, transport, and set up all the technical and logistical gear for the races in just a few days, crossing continents, and trying to adjust to changes in time zones and climates. It's a Herculean effort that can seriously impact everyone's health and performance. Last season, we saw a wave of illness and fatigue hit the paddock right during that final phase between Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi. That's no coincidence. So, what's Verstappen proposing? He suggests that F1 groups events more efficiently, especially when it comes to triple headers. If we're going to have so many events on the calendar, at least make sure they're closer together geographically, said the Red Bull driver. And honestly, that makes perfect sense. Instead of hopping all over the globe, why not organize the races by region? First hit a block of races in Asia, then move to the Americas, and finally, finish off in the Middle East. That would reduce not only the physical strain, but also F1's carbon footprint. Aston Martin driver Lance Stroll agreed with Max and doubled down on the point. According to him, it's crucial that F1 considers not just the overall calendar, but also the regions where each race is held. The logic is simple. A more friendly calendar would help everyone involved maintain peak performance and, of course, keep the show running strong. Another point Verstappen brought up is that, while he understands the calendar is influenced by commercial factors and ticket sales, he believes there should be a middle ground. He emphasized that the transition between Las Vegas and Qatar is one of the toughest and mentioned the increased risk of falling ill, especially at the end of the season when everyone's already exhausted. It's the kind of constructive criticism that the sports organizers should definitely take into account. It's no secret that F1 has been looking for ways to make the sport more sustainable and accessible for fans around the world. The problem is that, in the rush to meet commercial and global interests, sometimes the planning is done at the expense of the well-being of those involved. Sure, there's been progress. For example, this year, we saw a date swap between the Japanese and Azerbaijan GPs as an attempt to streamline logistics. But is that really enough? This discussion is even more relevant now, with the F1 calendar expanding into new markets like the United States and the Middle East, which are becoming more prominent on the race schedule. But is it fair to put drivers and teams through a global rally just to meet commercial commitments? And more importantly, will this strategy end up, in the long run, hurting the sport we all love? I know a lot of you, die-hard F1 fans, love seeing as many races as possible each year, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when we consider the toll on the crew and the risks involved, shouldn't we rethink how the calendar is structured? Who knows? Maybe with a more efficient layout, we could have an even more competitive championship with fewer unpleasant surprises like drivers and crew members falling ill at the very end. I want to hear what you think. Do you believe F1 should revise how the races are spread out? Or do you think the current format, even with its challenges, is still the best option? And what do you make of McLaren's latest move? Does Ella Lloyd have what it takes to stand out on the international stage? And even more, do you think we'll see a more balanced competition in the coming years with more female drivers racing on equal footing? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know what you think. And of course, if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Here we talk F1 without holding back, with strong opinions and loads of info. Subscribe, hit that bell, and become part of this passionate F1 community. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and share it with your fellow Formula One fans. Let's keep growing this awesome F1 community together. See you next time, speeding towards victory.